Peace and blessings, African family in the DMV, United States, and beyond globally. Sam P.K. Collins, host and founder of All Eyes on DC, based in Washington, D.C. And here sitting with me from the headquarters is none other than brother Adrian Robinson. Adrian Robinson is a longtime friend of mine. Say hi to the world.
Hi, everyone.
Right now we're on live. Pretty much spending the Friday evening, not turning up, but discussing the matter at hand, and the matter might seem different to different people depending on who you are. So, right now, much of the world is tuned into Comey and Trump. Comey was on television yesterday during the Senate proceedings, and this affair turned into a sporting event of sorts. Bars filled up, and people, in place of the NBA Finals for that night or that day, they watched the Senate proceedings. So this is politics and media once again playing a role and colluding in giving our people a very untrue picture of what's going on in this country and what we should be paying attention to. So with me tonight, once again, I got Adrian Robinson. I know this brother for a very long time. He's a politico, very, very well versed in all things politics, economics, legislation, and he can break down the numbers tonight. Would you mind talking about yourself for a little bit?
Yeah, so hi everyone. Like I said, my name is Adrian. So I worked on Capitol Hill, I've worked on the presidential campaign, and after that I worked in a major NGO out in San Francisco, and before that I worked for a tech startup. So I know how to come at politics from many different angles, and so combining the knowledge and experience that I have in tech, politics, and policy, I kind of analyze things through those lenses.
Okay, cool. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. Let's get to analyzing this evening. So, at this point, we're not going to discuss exclusively Comey, Trump, all of that. But if you can just talk to us about what was happening while we were engulfed in these proceedings. Talk about what happened this week, or what is happening this week.
Yeah, so the first thing I just want to say is, according to President Trump, this was supposed to be Infrastructure Week. He started out Monday talking about he was going to privatize the air traffic controllers, and today he's been hosting events in different media events throughout different cities. It was in Ohio yesterday, or the day before that, just talking about how we need infrastructure, which we do, but because of his and lack of just political skill and the sensational nature of our media, that infrastructure is not going anywhere because all people are talking about is Comey.
So what does infrastructure mean? You mentioned air traffic control. What else?
So infrastructure is everything from air traffic controllers to the roads, the bridges, the water, the electric grid, gas lines, sewer lines. If you look at what happened in Flint, that's clearly infrastructure. But even just beyond that, the power grid, just infrastructure, all the stuff that we don't see. Pretty much everything we take for granted because we don't see it. Running water, the ability to flick on, hit a light switch and have power come on, the ability to walk on paved roads, sidewalks, drive on paved roads, all the stuff that allows us to do what we do that we take for granted. That's infrastructure.
So of course Trump mentioned this during this week, and people are very afraid of what's going to come under him. But you and I, we've discussed this before, and you have a different take on what the media is saying about Trump's effectiveness. 100 some odd days in office, or am I over exaggerating now? Please forgive me. 100 some odd. Yeah, 100 some odd. Okay, good. 100 some odd days in office right now, and we talked about this Muslim ban. We talked about health care, and we also talked about education, right, as it relates to HBCUs and other things. And we talked about an impending budget that Trump is doing. And we also talked about increased militarization, right, when it comes to Trump. And people, they paint a very dismal picture. They're saying that, okay, now that Trump's in office, a lot of this stuff is happening and we got to be scared. But you have a different take, right? While they talked about some Trump victories, all is not over yet.
All is not over yet, and I would say all hasn't even begun yet. So I think the thing we have to think about, like first and foremost, is Trump is a reality TV star.
Okay.
He's all about television. So the things like the travel ban, like he's all about like political theater. Like he has like that big image of like all the people protesting at the airport and causing chaos at all the airports, and just like deportation. Everything a lot like with him. It's all about putting on the show to show to his like base of supporters that he's doing things. Like I think a lot of people particularly in the media and the political world, forget that the majority of the country is not steeped in these issues the way we are. Like the guy just trying to make it in like Minnesota or somewhere else.
Right.
He's not a policy wonk. He's not like delving deep into like what is actually going on. He's just like
they're worried about the current things that's happening around them, right?
He watches an hour of like nightly news every night, and he sees President Trump is like shutting down the airports, and he had a ceremony in a rose garden with the House signed the bill, even though the bill was sat in Speaker Paul Ryan's desk for 2 weeks before it even went to the Senate. So yeah, like as far as the average American is concerned, he is doing things.
Right.
And from the media perspective, they're happy to promote that narrative. But when you actually look at it deeper, yes, he's doing things ceremonially, but he's not really doing or changing anything of substance or policy.
So we got checks and balances, right? People forget about checks and balances in our system. The president, guys, you listening, right? The president is not the only person or only entity that's running the United States. Like, even if you look beyond, we can argue that corporations run, right? There are a lot of interests involved. So let's peel back the lies for a second, right? Like it's an onion. Let's get to the very core. What is at that core? What is happening right now? What is the state of the healthcare debacle? What is the state of immigration? What is the state of just the things that we got so wrapped up about Trump about?
Yeah, so the first thing as far as healthcare, as everyone except for our president knew before a few weeks ago, healthcare is very, very, very complicated. There's a reason why before Obama, the last person to do anything major was FDR. It's really complicated. So currently, the Affordable Care Act, I'm not using a pejorative term, the Affordable Care Act is still the law of the land. Once he signed it in 2010, the Supreme Court approved it in 2012, and the first exchanges opened in 2013, it is the law of the land. Now, because of the Health and Human Services are in charge of organizing the logistics for the Medicaid expansion. So for all the states mainly and stuff, all the states that decided they weren't going to take federal government funding to open their own exchanges like they did in Maryland or they did in California or they did in New York, where the state actually runs the exchange. All those states are falling under the purview of the Department of Health and Human Services. And Trump he really hasn't appointed anybody to fully implement these things.
Wait, so let me get this. Even though stuff is sort of in motion, there's nobody in this administration that can fulfill that responsibility.
Well, the majority of the government workers are career workers.
Okay.
So they're there no matter who's there. So there are people that are going to make sure their job is just to make sure the government works right, that taxes are collected, the schools are operating, things like that. They don't get into politics. That's why, as a politician, that's when they have political appointees. You have to, if the Department of Education is just there to make sure kids learn. Mm-hmm. If you as a politician feel that you should be learning in public schools, they should be learning in charter schools, then it's up to you to put people that are going to make sure that your vision of how it should work is like followed through.
But Trump hasn't done that yet.
Exactly. Not the responsibility of the career workers to fulfill your vision.
So would you say that Trump even has a vision of what he wants?
So Trump's vision is whatever is going to please his supporters. Like it is literally that shallow. He could be in his motorcade tweeting about how abortion is like a horrible thing. By the time he arrives at the Capitol Hill, if he gets words that people like abortion, you can bet your bottom dollar that he's going to be for abortion.
So what does that mean for those of us who are virtually against Trump, or people who wouldn't have the same interests as Trump?
I mean, I definitely am 1,000,000% against Trump. I was saying about what it means is there's two good things. One, things are still going to function like at a basic level. Like there aren't going to be planes falling out of the sky. There's not going to be so all this media hype and all the hysteria. It's not going to happen like that. That's not going to happen. So, and those are his goals. And while we're less than 6 months into his administration, he may eventually start to fill these roles that currently are not filled. So things are going to go traditionally the main way they have been going. And for people that are biased like myself who are against Trump, I would say use this lag time to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
He's gearing up for battle, so you should be gearing up for battle. The media wants you to think that the real battle has already started, and it hasn't.
Right.
The real battle has not started. You still have time to gather your tools, ration out your supplies. You still have time to get ready. The battle has not started yet. He's not ready. He's not ready, so the battle hasn't started. So you can use this time to get ready yourself.
So, question about speaking of battle, right? As best as you can, and of course, I don't want to make this a blanket statement, but gearing up for battle, how would you talk about the proportion of our leaders? Specifically Black Democrats. How focused do you think they have been, or do you find they have been on Russia versus preparing for battle as it relates to stuff that their constituents might be concerned about?
Well, I mean, they definitely have just been.
I'm just saying because Maxine Waters, she's often talking about impeach Trump. She's got a whole and this is of no offense to her. I'm just pointing out the facts. People there are politicos, politicians. There are media. People who are getting exposure. Who are rising to the pinnacle of this media political world in the age of Trump as crusaders, right? But the thing is, right, are they focusing exclusively on what is the assessment here? I want, honestly, they're focused on Trump versus they're focused on issues that were there before Trump.
Exactly. So, I think the most important thing is to separate policy from politics. Politics is just people. So, and policy is what matters. That's why even when Obama was president, there was still a war on drugs. Our people were still getting locked up. So you have to separate politics from policy. And politics, what you see is the surface level. But policy is the stuff that's deeper. And because people allow themselves to be caught up in the media trap, the politicians feed into that, so they too also focus on policy. One thing I don't like doing is I don't like advocating people of their own personal responsibility. Whether that's pertaining to politicians, whether it's pertaining to social media, whether it's pertaining to anything. Everybody has free will. CNN give you what you want, and Maxine Waters may tell you what you want to hear, But at the end of the day, you still have a brain and you have the ability to critically think.
Exactly.
So, like...
But social media makes it so hard these days, man. Everything is just so... We're like... They call it the popcorn generation. Is that what it is? Or something, whatever.
Oh, like
or microwave generation.
Yeah, microwave, yeah.
Everything is just so fluid and so quick. You know, you're one hashtag away from being a star now. You know, a trending topic.
And you're 1 second away from like having all the disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like I was actually reading a really good article yesterday. And they were talking about the difference between social movements back in the day versus social movements now.
Okay.
Like, if you think about, like, the March on Washington, that was a combination of 10 years of organizing. Like, that was a period to a long sentence. It took them 10 years of organizing to, like, actually do the March on Washington.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah. The Women's March the day after Trump got elected, inaugurated, it took a few weeks for that to catch on. It started on Facebook, then it went viral. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you created all the energy, and now what? There were nobody at the team that march can tell you that at that march we learned that, okay, afterwards we have to do this. And there were no outcomes because, like...
And a lot of black women attended that march, too. Sorry to cut you off, but... You know, I often wonder, I think about this to myself, how oftentimes, especially in these times, we're called on to join other interest groups, rather, for the greater good, or what they define as the greater good. But where does that leave us? You know, I think about black women who experience sort of a double whammy because of racism and sexism.
Right. So I just want to say, like, 94% of black women voted against Trump. They were the only segment of the society that, like, strongly rejected him. So, like, for them, I personally feel like they are, like you said, they're, like, in the double whammy. They're caught up in like, both worlds. So you have the Women's March, they're marching against sexism. You have the Black Lives Matter movement, who are marching against racism, but they're facing both. There are very few movements that are actually focused on both. You have your feminists over here, you have your like black movements over here, but there are no movements that are in that sweet spot that are focusing on the intersection of both.
Exactly.
So because they have to fight the war on two fronts. It's hard for them to front, and there is no front that really fits them. It's hard,
but they're creating that, or they're working to. You know?
Yeah, I was going to say there are definitely women that are doing that. But and those movements are gaining more traction. I think because I think for black women in particular, like Trump's election was like the ultimate wake up call.
Yeah. Because on all fronts, it's just white supremacy running rampant.
Exactly.
We're gearing to wrap this up. Where does black nationalism fit in this juncture and in this nation's history?
In this juncture,
just before you go on. Just speaking about the increasing privatization of, certain resources and benefits that were awarded to us, in the wake of, just stuff that was privatization, increased racism, a police state that you said time and time again is starting to get worse, right? What does black nationalism look like in this time?
I think at this time, there's a saying, those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. So I say for black nationalists, the movement to be successful, they have to learn from the mistakes of the past.
Okay.
Be a lot more wary of who you choose to align yourself with. There was a FBI informant who infiltrated the Black Panther Party. It was a Japanese guy. The FBI had like hella files on the Black Panther Party
because of him.
And yeah, because of him, and because when they went to they marched to Sacramento with the guns. So I definitely think we have to be smart about like privacy and like not having everything, like not making it easy for the CIA, the NSA, the FBI to like find out what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is definitely be more inclusive in terms of like who we invite to the table. And you can't like if the goal is to replace white male patriarchy with black male patriarchy. It can't be. It has to be black unity, not just for black men. So we have to be aware of who we have at the table. Like the sister, or they're good for other things than just like cooking and like serving breakfast. They can like be
definitely. They've proven
it too.
They've proven their time, yeah. And a lot of sisters are at the forefront of that. That's the ultimate goal,
right?
And people. That's been a mistake time and time again.
Yeah. So that's something I learned from my history.
Yeah, very, very, very much rampant. So just a short recap. There's more out there going on beyond the Comey comments in the Senate. And Trump has started something that he cannot finish. No, we're not talking about controversy. We're talking about these policy goals that he had, right? He started it, but he can't finish it. So black people, now is the time to act while he is slowly building his arsenal. Remember, he has not built his arsenal just yet. He is slowly building his arsenal, so we have to build ours. And what this means for black nationalism, as Adrian said, we have to rid ourselves of white supremacy in every way, and that includes bringing women to the table, black women to the table, uniting, and giving everybody equal voice. One more person joined, so it seems that I'm stuck at a crossroads, whether to go or to stop right now. But I think I want to keep going, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's some stuff that's going on in here?
The House yesterday voted to repeal Dodd-Frank, which was the set of financial regulations that the Obama administration administered after the recession 2008, 2009.
Okay.
It only passed the House. It's more likely to be dead on arrival on the Senate. But kind of like to harp back on my earlier point, I know it may not seem like it, but on the scale of like time, it is still early in Trump's presidency. So maybe in month 6 the bill isn't going to pass,
right? But
in year 2 or 3 it might pass. So that like just use that time, like I was saying, to get ready. Like that's pretty much how. That's pretty much. There's really no other takeaway that I can say. It's like, yeah, he's stumbling out of the gate, so use that time to get ready. Like there's no need to be all hysterical and like scared of like chicken little the sky's gonna fall. It's just a matter of like getting ready and like just following the policy, not the politics.
So right now this guy has a Republican majority, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In both houses?
Both chambers, yeah.
Both chambers. Okay. So in essence, could these bills could the Republicans fail to seal the deal on these bills before the next election, before 20?
So it's looking like they are. It's looking like because he's moving so slowly, and there is an election coming up, it doesn't look like he's going to get these bills. He's not going to get anything that they can really pass in front of them before they go into like full politician election mode. Mm-hmm. And the House could flip in 2018, but like I was saying before, in the very beginning, you gotta remember, I think this is like something we had to learn the hard way this past year. The country is more than just DC, New York, San Francisco, and LA.
Yeah.
The country is the Midwest. The country is like these Rust Belt states. Like I was saying, those guys work for a living. They're not following the policy. They turn on even the news, they see Trump is doing things. They feel like he's getting stuff done. Maybe they don't vote the Republicans out in 2018. Maybe they say, you know, Trump is doing well, let's keep things up. And by 2018, he's actually ready to like actually act on these laws, and he's just giving it to Congress again. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't take anything for granted.
Right.
Like, we just we have to do our research, but just be aware that not everybody's doing that. Not everyone is going to get this steeped in it. So there's no guarantee that the Democrats are going to win. And the more they play this like impeach hysteria game, in my opinion, it decreases your chances of winning. Because frankly, I'm 1,000,000% against Trump. And even the hysteria is getting annoying to me.
Yeah.
So I know it's getting annoying to his supporters or like people who are independent. I'm 100% against him, and even I'm tired of it.
It's like at this point, just stop complaining about it and just fight against it.
Exactly. So like, they keep doing a good job of turning people off. He gets House in 2018 and Senate in 2018, and that would give him like 2 years to build his stuff up. He's learning as he goes, but in 2 years he's going to know more than he knows now. That's the whole point.
Perfect. Adrian Robinson, thank you again, brother, for coming on this show, and thank you for everybody who's tuned in and who will tune in once you play this over and over again. This is real food for the mind and the soul. All Eyes on DC. We're out. Catch us next Friday at Sankofa. We're going to be down at Sankofa for the Watoto on Friday, on June 16th at 8 o'clock p.m. We've got a great lineup coming your way. Peace and blessings.